meeting of the Council of State Archivists. Our first order of business is the roll call of states and territories. I'd like to introduce Stephanie Clark, CoSA Secretary Treasurer and State Archivist of the Oregon State Archives, to conduct the roll call of states and territories and recognition of our guests. Stephanie?
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Hi, everyone. I'll be doing the roll call for us today. So when it is your state or territory call, please unmute yourself to announce that you're present. And please also enter your name, position, and your institution in the chat. That would be really helpful to us. Roll call will be in alphabetical order, and institutions should designate a single individual to respond, please, not everybody one at a time, to the roll call, and also for the purposes of casting votes today. So, Alabama.
Good afternoon. Steve Murray here with my colleague Dorothy Jadair.
Alaska.
Here, Karen Gray with Archivist John Henley.
American Samoa. Arizona.
Tom Summer with the Arizona State Archives.
Arkansas.
David Ware with the Arkansas State Archives.
California. Colorado. Connecticut.
Alan Ramsey here with Sarah Morin and Lisa Liu on my team.
Delaware. District of Columbia. Florida.
Here.
Georgia. Guam.
Good morning, Tina Kanata. I am the Guam archivist with the Department of Tomorrow Affairs.
Hawaii. Idaho. Illinois.
Oh, hi, Kathy Popovich here, Director of the Illinois State Archives, and I'm joined by Josh Hackle.
Indiana. Iowa.
Anthony Jan here, State Archivist, State Archives of Iowa.
Kansas.
Megan Burton here, State Archivist, Kansas State Archives.
Kentucky.
Rusty Heckman here, also joined by Catherine Giles.
Louisiana.
Melanie Montanaro, here by myself, Louisiana State Archives.
Maine.
Hi, Christian Coates, Maine State Archives.
Maryland. Massachusetts.
Jack Warner, Archivist of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Michigan. Minnesota. Mississippi. Missouri.
John Dugan, State Archivist.
Montana. Nebraska.
Anna Holly here at the Nebraska State Historical Society.
Nevada. New Hampshire.
Ashley Miller here, New Hampshire State Archivist.
New Jersey.
Ronnie Calder, Supervising Archivist at the New Jersey State Archives with Tara Maharjan and Danielle Marchetti.
New Mexico.
Jonathan Pringle, State Archivist for New Mexico.
New York. North Carolina.
Josh Hager, State Archives in North Carolina. Not the State Archivist. She's not here. I'm the head of Government Records Description.
North Dakota.
Shane Molander here, State Archivist for North Dakota.
Northern Mariana Islands. Ohio.
Hi, this is Fred Trevitz, the state archivist at the Ohio History Connection.
Oklahoma.
Patricia Nunes and Cassie Spindle for the Department of Libraries and State Archives.
And Oregon, Stephanie Clark, State Archivist. Pennsylvania.
Hi, Dave Schaff, State Archivist, Pennsylvania.
Puerto Rico. Rhode Island.
Ashley Salima here, State Archivist for Rhode Island.
South Carolina.
Eric Emerson, Director, South Carolina Department of Archives and History.
South Dakota.
Shelley Thompson, South Dakota State Archivist.
Tennessee.
Hi, everybody. Jamie Awalt, Assistant State Archivist, Tennessee State Library and Archives.
Texas.
Blaine Chubb, State Archivist, Texas State Library and Archives Commission.
Utah.
Ken Williams, State Archivist.
Vermont. Virgin Islands. Virginia.
Greg Crawford, State Archivist, Library of Virginia.
Washington.
Hi, everyone. Heather Hirataka, State Archivist, Washington State Archives.
West Virginia.
Hi, everybody. Aaron Parsons, State Archivist for West Virginia.
Wisconsin.
Hello, Jean Chrysanthemum, Electronic Records Archivist, Wisconsin Historical Society.
And Wyoming.
Hello, everyone. Sarah Davis, State Archivist, Wyoming State Archives.
Thanks, everyone. Great turnout today. Did we miss anyone? Hearing none. I'd like to take a moment to ask our sponsors and vendor partners to please come off mute if you're here today and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Lisa Pearl. I'm head of US and Canada content for Ancestry.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
Any other guests joining us today? Okay, hearing none, this part is complete and I will hand it back over to Alan. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. We will now move on to our old business. Materials for the business meeting were distributed to the state archivist distribution list on Wednesday, July 23rd and posted online. Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any objections? All right. Next, we return to the 2025 annual business meeting minutes. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All right. Any objections? Seeing none. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I would like to extend a special thank you to our corporate partners and sponsors. These critical participants are a vital part of making CoSA the vibrant community that it is, from facilitating educational opportunities to providing important financial support. We're glad for both our longstanding and new relationships. Our corporate partners, Preservica, sponsoring our CERI program, and Sistry for our travel stipends, and Family Search supports for the CoSA Awards program, and our continued valuable support from APPX as well. Our corporate sustainers, you can see on the screen here, are Atlas Systems from the page and SMA scanners. We got that right. We're also grateful for the continued support of our Lifeline partners and news brief sponsors. You can see them on the screen here. Our 2026 annual meeting gold level sponsorships are nearly sold out, and we express our gratitude for those vendors who help offset the costs of gathering the CoSA community together. We also recognize the support of our grant funding from IMLS, closing out the AWARE project as of July of this year, and the Mellon Foundation currently providing support for 2 significant projects. Joy will provide additional updates in her executive director's report later. I now welcome Catherine Giles, CoSA Vice President and State Records Branch Manager for the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives, to present the nominating committee's report.
Thank you, Alan. The recommendations of the nominating committee were presented to the membership with the other meeting materials. We wish to extend our thanks to all of our CoSA volunteers who help us meet our mission-centered goals. We're especially grateful to Jamie Awald of Tennessee as she completes her term of service to the board of directors. And I also want to thank the other members of the nominating committee for their thoughtful contributions to this process. That would be Megan Peterman of Delaware and Kathy Popovich of Illinois. Before you today is a slate of 3 individuals that the nominating committee recommends for approval. These are 3-year terms for 2026 to 2029. And those individuals are Stephanie Clark, Oregon, Christian Coates, Maine, Lopez Matthew Jr., District of Columbia.
Right. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you to the committee for its work. At this time, we'll open the floor for further nominations. Are there any nominations from the floor? Right. Hearing none, nominations are closed because this slate comes as a recommendation of a committee of the board. No second is required, and we will proceed directly to the vote, which you should see up on your screen here as well as right now. So, and Catherine will announce the results later in the meeting. Okay. All right. All right. We now come to the state of the association. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve as your CoSA president this year. It has been an honor to work with colleagues who understand the responsibilities of government archives and the limits within which we work. I am grateful to our board of directors, Vice President Catherine Giles, Secretary Treasurer Stephanie Clark, Executive Director Joy Banks, the CoSA team of Becky Juleson, Andy Denham, and Becky Katz, our consultants, contractors and consultants, and our committee and working group volunteers. Thank you again also to our corporate partners. I especially want to recognize Ann Ackerson, who retired for a 2nd time in January after years of consulting service to CoSA, guiding our communications and working with our corporate partners. I also want to thank Tom Ruler and Barbara Teague, who stepped back earlier this year from the CoSA Advocacy Committee after giving it their voice and wisdom. These are the people who made this year's work possible. The 2022 to 2026 strategic plan, organized around research, education, advocacy, and sustainability and excellence, concludes this year. Within that plan, I described 4 commitments last August when I talked during the looking ahead. Here is how we did. First, strengthening the workforce. This year's calls to the members are nearing completion. Board members have been calling you, state and territory archivists, and any staff you bring with you to hear directly about your budget impacts and your stories. Several calls remain scheduled, so be on the lookout for those. But these conversations connect your board directly to you, and that connection is what lets us help respond to things early. Second, engaging partners. On July 13th, CoSA submitted formal comments on proposed revisions to the federal grant regulation 2 CFR Part 200, addressing effects on state and territorial archives and the local repositories they fund. In late June, reports emerged that the National Archives and Records Administration planned to close its Chicago and San Francisco San Bruno facilities and move temporary records from Seattle. On June 26th, Joy wrote on behalf of CoSA's membership asking or seeking timelines, transfer plans, and information on access. The National Archives confirmed the plans on July 1st and committed to maintaining or continuing minimizing disruptions and sharing information. On July 22nd, CoSA opened an impact survey of state and territorial archivists. The results will be aggregated for later sharing. On July 24th, CoSA issued a joint public statement with NAGARA and SAA on these closures. These facilities serve broad regions, including the Pacific Territories. Third, treating electronic records infrastructure is essential. In October, BACR received the National Digital Stewardship Alliance Award, Excellence Award in the project category. In February, the final report was published, and the project closed out, fulfilling last year's commitment. The AWARE final report was published in October. It addressed the needs of territorial and non-continuous state archives in procurement, disaster preparedness, and remote environments. Through federal funding, disruption, and restoration, BACR was completed, and AWARE is concluding as of the end of July. In November, we accepted Mellon Foundation support to refresh the Intergovernmental Preparedness for Essential Records, otherwise known as IPER, program. We engaged lyricists, and the project convened at our April mid-year meeting at Columbia, South Carolina, where AWARE partners closed out their work, and one preparedness effort is informing our next efforts. Fourth, being honest about our limits. Budgets are always tight in our work. What's different is the direction. State revenues tightening in the years ahead, and federal funding shifting under us at the same time. The board acted on that, holding dues flat for this year and 2027. Joy and Stephanie will talk more about that in their reports. The next strategic planning process is underway. I want to thank you all from our members, board members, retirees, CoSA staff, and our stakeholders who joined focus groups and interviews. And Catherine will talk more about the upcoming strategic plan work in her looking ahead. The strength of the work depends on the people who carry it forward. Since we last met, we have marked the retirements of 3 state archivists: Rich Arstead of Montana, Stephen Mars of Delaware, and David Pilcher of Mississippi. At member suggestions, we now also recognize long-serving staff who retired this year. Tracy L. Croach, Local Government Records Coordinator, Rhode Island; Teresa Gordon, Administrative Services Assistant at Tennessee; and Renee Register, Director of Library Collection Services at Tennessee. With sadness, we also mark the passing of Richard James Cox, archivist, scholar, and teacher to a generation of archivists, whose career included service in the Baltimore City Archives, the Alabama Department of Archives and History, and the New York State Archives. We welcome 5 state and territorial archivists named since our last business meeting. Megan Peterman of Delaware, Tina Quinata of Guam, Julie Dees of Mississippi, Kelly Policelli of North Carolina, and Marley Ferrar Montalvo, interim of Puerto Rico. We're glad you are here. Well, we do our best to be sure that recognition is complete. We would like to open the floor at this time to add any names missing from any of these categories to be added to our records. These transitions come as our institutions face staffing gaps, tight budgets, electronic records needs, a shifting federal funding environment, and much more. CoSA cannot, of course, remove every pressure, but we can share information with each other and help you act early. Know your legal authorities, statutes, regulations, and constitutional provisions before you need them. The moment you need them is the wrong moment to learn them. Bring challenges to CoSA early. We can only help with what we know, and early is when options still exist. The calls to members run in both directions. If nothing else, I would urge you and over and over to call a neighbor of yours, another fellow state or territorial archivist, for their guidance as well. Once positions, budget lines, and funding are lost, they rarely return. Recovery takes years of sustained advocacy through relationships that turn over quickly. By the time a cut is public, the recoverable moment may have passed. Asking for help early is competent stewardship. That mutual support is why your staff belong in these rooms. CoSA works because you and your staff show up throughout the year, not only at meetings. Entry points include committees, working groups, affinity groups, chatting with colleagues, webinars, the Series Steer on conference, and a lot more. That list also keeps growing. This year alone, we've added or reinvigorated new affinity groups on social media, conservation and preservation, appraisal, and microfilm, to name a few. And nearly all of this is free and virtual. This continues a question my predecessor CoSA presidents have raised for the last 5 years. Do our staff know they are part of this community? 15 of our 56 state and territorial archivists were appointed within the past 3 years. And I know that number is much higher if we look back even just 10 years, 5 to 10 years. Today's engaged staff are tomorrow's state and territorial archivists. Their participation supports development and succession planning. Our next gathering is the annual meeting in Columbia, South Carolina at the South Carolina Department of Archives and History, September 23rd through the 25th. I hope you all will join us. I have great confidence in Catherine Giles as she prepares to serve as president. She will offer her looking ahead remarks later. Thank you for your work, your candor, and your support of one another. CoSA remains useful because this community stays involved. I am grateful to have served. It is now my pleasure to invite Executive Director Joy Banks to present the Executive Director's report. Joy?
Thank you, Alan. I am once again delighted to come to you today, and it's my honor to present, to have this opportunity to share a few remarks about the last 12 months at CoSA. And I'm going to try to make sure that our display is right. You can see me there. These planned pauses that we have in the rhythm of our year do give us the opportunity to reflect when our inclination is typically to just move ahead, focused on the ever-growing list of things that we have to do. As always, I hope that you did take the time to read our 2025 year in review, which, as usual, provides an update on the year 2025 and more information on many of the things that I will cover today. So last year at this time, I had to report the termination of our 2 IMLS grants, which supported Backer, our 4+ year study of electronic records in state and territory government archives, and AWARE, our planning grant specifically focused on the territories and non-contiguous states. Many of you also know, whether you heard it from us or were listening to Alan's remarks, that we were offered reinstatement on both of these grants in December of 2025. Ultimately, the board voted to go ahead and close Backer, which only had a few $1,000s remaining, and all of our goals had essentially been achieved at that point. If you've not explored the Backer final report and other outcomes that were produced through that project, I strongly recommend taking a look at those. They were the result of so many hours of volunteer time, the hard work of our project consultant, Nick Canizzo, and offer a lot of additional materials for our digital best practices series, and ultimately are helping to guide us as we look ahead to new initiatives with Siri and other matters related to electronic records. The board voted to go through the steps to reinstate AWARE due to more substantial balance remaining in that grant and some remaining goals that we had that were still on the table that we hope to achieve. By going through this process, it allowed us to recoup costs for site visits that CoSA had committed to cover during the termination. It allowed us to go ahead and offer some real practical support for our project partners. And it also helped us engage them in the launch of our IPER update, which tied directly to the recommendations of the AWARE final report. Though this project was disrupted, the outcomes really have helped to guide us as we think about engagement of all of our members near and far, and looking ahead to where we might continue to look for more support from them. As Alan mentioned, the AWARE project has concluded as of July 31st, 2026, and we'll be working on the final report to IMLS for that. Earlier this year, we announced new grant funding from the Mellon Foundation to undertake a thorough review and update of our Intergovernmental Preparedness for Essential Records curriculum, or IPER. For those who may be unfamiliar with this, IPER was first developed with substantial FEMA funding between 2008 and 2011. And it served really as the foundation of many emergency preparedness programs that still exist today. While it is still in use, the content needs an update. The platform was broken and it needed a lot of work. So this funding allowed us to go ahead and do a national search to find project contractors to help us. We earlier this year signed a contract with an amazing team at Lyrasis, which is being led by Tom Clarison and Katie Klettinger. In April, that team launched the project officially and by convening a group of CoSA members, including several AWARE partners, alongside the CoSA Board of Directors mid-year meeting in Columbia, South Carolina. We are really excited to be working with this team that has both been inspired by IPER and is now leading the way on a lot of work that's being done in the emergency preparedness field in these more recent years. We are excited. Do look for many more ways that you'll be able to engage with this project, including in the coming few weeks. We expect to have a survey, and they will be present at the annual meeting seeking feedback on this. As the project advances, we'll also be looking for feedback on the curriculum and pilots for people to pilot the curriculum as a project. So lots of ways that you'll be able to offer your feedback and support on that. Work also continues on our 4-year Mellon-funded project, which is focused on CoSA's resource center, our data collection practices, and our strategic foundations. Through this funding, we were able to hire in September 2025 a third full-time member for the CoSA team, Andrew Denham. Andrew is serving as our development and operations manager. We actually expanded his position a bit after Anne's retirement, so he could help us with our vendor and sponsor partnerships in this position. So with that hire, it prompted many other pieces of this project, including the engagement of Adam Jacobson, principal at Talk Shop LA, and his project partner, Elliot Teller, to think through CoSA's next strategic plan. We really extend our gratitude, as Alan said, to many of you who took time to speak with them in a series of conversations and focus groups. They are eager to keep learning from our members as our strategic plan takes shape. I'm also pleased to announce that we've secured the support for another piece of this project with Jess Farrell, who's the principal of Red Start Works, and her project partner, Ryan Morrison Westfall, to help us with a major redesign of our resource center. As work proceeds in both strategic and technological design, we soon expect to have an additional call for support to assist with our next iteration of a newly imagined Archives and Records Management Survey, or ARM, the data collection that contributes to the publication of our critical state of state records report. So for those of you who have been around for a long time, you've had a break since 2022, but I am delighted to say it's coming back. It will be new and improved, and we are hoping to restart that data collection mechanism in the next 6 to 12 months. So alongside these many moving pieces, we reported last year on our migration to a new member management and communication platform hosted by GrowZone. The migration was intended to facilitate dynamic data collection and storage while also giving our community a more modern platform to make meaningful connections with each other. For those of you who have joined us on this journey and provided your honest feedback, we know this has not been a smooth transition. We are not using the platform right now in this meeting space. We do have some of our working and affinity groups using this new tool, and they are getting accustomed to access to scheduling their own meetings and having direct messaging and some other features. But many of you have reported continued struggles, and for that, I am deeply apologetic. The CoSA team has spent dozens of hours with their support team, submitted untold numbers of tickets, and engaged with other users of the system to try to figure out the best use of this tool. At this stage, I have escalated our concerns to the company's CEO, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person yesterday and speaking directly to this issue. The next 12 months will be telling, especially with this grand vision that we have for our resource center and our data visualization. And we just appreciate your continued honesty with us and patience as we do our best to help you connect with each other. So despite all of these bumps, our team has been working on documenting process and procedures, streamlining and sharing the ways that our community can engage with existing groups and projects, as well as helping us identify new directions to pursue. Recently, directly to feedback that you've shared, we've ramped up new affinity groups that Alan mentioned with social media and conservation and some other areas. We're also working towards updates to our guidance for governors in anticipation of this 2026 election year. And as we continue to look ahead, we hope that you see your CoSA community as a space for conversation, support, and community. This year, our theme has been resilience, and I feel that you all have continued to exemplify this in the best way possible. When I think about resilience, it's this balance between things that are encouraging growth and embracing change while also helping remain true to the mission that you have. I really do hope that you see CoSA as a partner in this space, a space where you can connect with your colleagues, that you can help build your professional strengths, and that you see the possibilities of where this field can go. We really appreciate being partners with all of you and look forward to seeing what the future will hold. So with that, I'm going to pass this forward to Stephanie Clark for our treasurer's report.
Thank you so much, Joy. I'd like to ask Joy to please share a brief one-pager in the chat of our financial statement of activities for folks to dig into the numbers while I'm chatting. So thank you, Joy, for putting that one-pager together for us. For the treasurer's update this year, I want to share with everyone that CoSA continues to be in a very strong financial position. We have done very well with our investment portfolio that is managed by Broadview Wealth Management. In 2015, CoSA opened up an investment account with $100,000. For the last 11 years, leadership has managed that account with a growth with income mindset that now allows us to consider how this money can actually work for us. To that end, the Finance Committee has been developing a financial gains proposal that will be coming your way. The idea of this document is to outline our intentional objectives for the management of our money for the next 3 years, with the goal of implementing the proposal starting at the beginning of the next budget year. So in 2025, the Finance Committee started conversations about how the investment account could benefit the priorities of CoSA through intentional applications of gains to our programs and services. In January 2026, John Newsy, our current investment manager at Broadview, shared several possible strategies with us. For the purposes of CoSA's considerations, the investment fund is only one asset on CoSA's balance sheet. Other assets include Broadview checking and savings accounts and a set of laddered CDs that are currently restricted to funds from our active Mellon grant. CoSA's cash on hand is a mix of both unrestricted and restricted funds. The reserve fund is board designated and not equal to any specific account line on the balance sheet, but rather available from any of CoSA's existing assets. The reserve fund is held for extreme measures should CoSA ever need to sunset its operations. The Finance Committee believes that our philosophy should not just be about growing money, but also giving back to our community in a meaningful way. In alignment with this philosophy, we will not be increasing our membership dues this year. We have an obligation also to share the audited financials when those are received by us. We will send a notification when those are received to our primary member contacts by email using InfoHub. We are 2 years into the larger of our 2 active grants from the Mellon Foundation. We have received all $900,000 of that grant. The Finance Committee has helped guide management of these funds, keeping adequate cash on hand to cover grant-related expenses, while being mindful of insurance caps on our cash accounts. This led to a plan for our laddered CD investments. All of the interest we receive from our laddered CD investments in those funds goes right into our unrestricted funds. And the second Mellon funded award was for $150,000. And as Joy mentioned, that covers work related to the IPER curriculum. And obviously Joy covered in more detail both of those projects in her report. For my last update, I want to share a recent policy change that was voted on by the Board of Directors related to credit card fees and how that relates to dues payments. So up until this point, CoSA has absorbed the fees that were incurred due to credit cards being used to pay people's membership dues. However, since we migrated from PayPal to GZ Pay, which is the growth zone equivalent for our payment processing services, we've actually seen an increase in credit card usage, alongside credit card companies increasing their fees, which also range between 3 to 4%. This year to date, the fees related to dues payments that we have paid from folks paying by credit card are nearly $1,000 to our budget. So for 2027 dues year, CoSA will start charging a flat service fee for any member wishing to pay their membership dues using a credit card. The fee will be reflected in your invoice so that you can seek approval for the total dues amount with that service fee included. The specific fee will be between 3 and 4% and determined in the next few months as we work to set the FY 2027 budget. And because of this, CoSA strongly urges states to pay their membership dues using either electronic funds transfer, EFT, or by check to avoid having to pay this additional fee. Conference registration fees and other smaller transactions will not be charged the service fee if a credit card is used for payment. And we don't allow vendors to pay for sponsorship using credit cards, so the service fee won't apply to them either. We do still have some outstanding invoices for 2026, so please be sure to pay those. And the 2027 invoice process will start in November of this year. Thank you for letting me share. It's been an honor to continue to serve on your board and as your treasurer. So I'd like to now invite Catherine to present the results of the election and share her remarks.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so the motion for the board nominees carried. So congratulations to our new board members or returning board members. Now, I'm probably going to be echoing a lot of what Alan and Joy have already said. So I do want to start with saying that I can't say enough how much I have enjoyed serving on the CoSA board so far. I think I've been a fairly active participant on other CoSA committees and groups before, but being on the board is different and proving to be a very fulfilling experience. This month actually marks my 10th year with the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives and in this field. But it wasn't until 2019 when I was a CoSA award recipient that I had the opportunity to really engage with CoSA and the members. As part of receiving the award and attending the annual meeting, I had to do a brief presentation. And I remember being so nervous about speaking in front of these very important and very dignified CoSA members. And I also recall that at the next break and over the course of the annual meeting, several of you approached me, pulled me into conversations, included me in your spaces. And instead of feeling out of place, I thought, oh, these are my people. There are a lot of new state archivists and directors. My hope is that their first interactions with CoSA and the members have left them with the same impression. There are also many staff members who might not be aware that they benefit from their organization's CoSA membership and as such don't participate, don't get to engage, don't get that same moment of, oh, these are my people. If it weren't for the initial support of my state archivist at the time, Beth Shields, and then later Terry Manuel, I don't know how involved I'd be in CoSA today. So that has had me thinking about advocacy a lot lately, what it means, what I want it to mean, what's achievable, what I want to achieve. And I have no doubt that all of you are probably thinking of it more than I am. When I think about advocacy, so much of that is tied to policymaking, money requesting, bureaucracy, etc. It can be easy to forget that at its most basic, advocacy is about building relationships. So yes, that usually means relationships with the people that are outside of our organization, but it should also mean within our organization. And when we work in government, there's a good chance we're working with people who did not start out passionate about their role. For me, it took someone stepping in as a mentor or advocate to get me there. And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people. And in fact, you may have been one of those people who have stepped in as a mentor or advocate for someone. There are so many of you who may not realize how much your interactions, however brief or virtual, have created a place for enthusiasm and for that confidence to grow. In that vein, CoSA continues to create affinity and user groups that allow members a chance to connect around a shared interest. The social media affinity group and conservation preservation affinity group were just added. In fact, the social media affinity group, I believe they have their first meeting scheduled for Monday. But we do still need to think about advocacy the other way too, with policies and more formal actions. Many of us aren't able to approach legislators or other key people to discuss the work that we need to discuss, our needs, our resources that we're trying to get. We need to find other avenues to make sure that what we do is visible and part of the conversation. As you've heard, work has begun on developing CoSA's new strategic plan. We greatly appreciate everyone who has completed the survey, participated in a focus group, been interviewed, otherwise provided feedback and thoughts that will help shape CoSA's direction and priorities in the coming years. And I believe Adam and Elliot are hoping to attend the annual meeting for further observations and to continue discussions around the strategic plan. I know advocacy has always been part of CoSA's plan, but I think it's more necessary than ever to make sure it's embedded in all that we do and all that's in this plan. As we have these discussions, let's consider how CoSA can support all of us, because that's what CoSA is here for. I'll let Josh Hager speak to it more, but the State Electronic Records Institute, SERI, for example, has plans to develop a white paper. So are there other topics that we should be developing guidance on? How can CoSA help? That's part of the advocacy that CoSA is here to do. And I know I'm talking a lot about advocacy, and I'm going to ask that you don't count how many times I've said it, or if you do count it, please don't tell me. But I think everyone here knows that advocacy is not a one and done task. Advocacy is a habit. It doesn't always have to be a big action, but small everyday things. The Advocacy Committee, in fact, recently presented on building resilience through everyday advocacy, which only reinforces this. By the way, all of this definitely isn't intended to be a plug to join the Advocacy Committee, but it's also not a plug to join the Advocacy Committee. So I think in my looking ahead, as I look ahead at the coming year, I want us to really incorporate and refocus on what advocacy means, and make sure that we are involving CoSA how we can, or involving ourselves how we can if we are in organizations that have been successful in ways. I mean, you should share that. That's something you should share with all of us, because that's something that affects the entire field, the entire profession, and all of us as individuals. So I'm going to end it there, but I would like to recognize and thank Jamie for her service in her many roles on the board. I also want to thank Alan for all the hard work that he has put into as president. And of course, I want to appreciate Joy and the CoSA staff for how much they do in making CoSA run as smoothly as it does. I'm so excited to continue working with you all in the next year, and I hope to see you in South Carolina.
Thank you, Catherine. Before we close, I'd like to open the floor to the membership. Are there any comments, remarks, or announcements for the good of the order?
I believe that is my cue to give my SERI
Yes.
update.
Yes. Go ahead, Josh. Thank you.
Of course. So I am very honored to serve on the SERI leadership, and I want to give a quick update on some things we're doing in SERI. As Catherine alluded to, we are looking to take advantage of SERI's name as the State Electronic Records Institute and issue a white paper with some authority on an issue that a lot of members have spoken to us about, and that is specifically the increasing use of AI in our search rooms across the country. We have heard from various institutions that more and more patrons are using AI and to search for things that do not exist, creating hallucinations and finding aids in catalogs, and are having difficulty understanding when those hallucinations aren't real. And it's becoming more and more prevalent with higher use of AI. We are hoping with Siri to create a boilerplate language that we can provide to archives across the country that you can post in your search rooms and provide to patrons through email that can give boilerplate language on what researchers can and cannot expect when using AI to help with historical research. We also will be hoping to craft language that we can provide to other government agencies that work with the archives for what they can and cannot expect when using AI to look through records they may have donated or transferred to the archives. This will be part of our Electronic Records Day programming this year. And so the Electronic Records Day Working Group is taking the center stage and working on this paper. Tara Maharjan, who is the head of our Electronic Records Working Group, is the point of contact. I encourage you to reach out to her. Her email is in the chat. If you would like to participate in this white paper or would have staff that are interested in this white paper, we especially would encourage any involvement of your public services or reference staff so we make sure that they're included in this project. So the next meeting for this group is going to be on Friday, August 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So if you're available, I encourage you to attend at that time, and we'll be brainstorming what we should include in this white paper. If you're not available, we still encourage you to email Tara, and we look forward to your involvement. Thank you so much, and we'll have more on this at the annual meeting in Columbia, where I look forward to seeing you as a co-host.
Thank you, Josh. Right. Okay. Seeing no other business, I want to thank. Yes, closing remarks. Today, we reviewed a full year of work, elected our board of directors, and heard where CoSA stands and where it is headed. Thank you to everyone who presented, everyone who voted, and everyone who joined us today. I hope to see again, as I think most of us mentioned, we hope to see many of you, if not all of you, in Columbia, South Carolina for our annual meeting, September 23rd to 25th. And I don't know, Joy, if you had any details on that or any other closing comments that you'd like to make.
I don't. I would like to acknowledge again the co-hosts for our meeting this year, South Carolina and North Carolina. It will be the Battle of the Carolinas in the best way possible. They have come up with quite the itinerary to welcome us. We will be adding some more items related to pre-conference tours and post-conference activities. But don't fret if you've already registered. We'll have ways that you can sign up and participate in those if you would like to. Just don't forget, register early if you can, but we also extended our early bird registration a little bit longer because we know sometimes that does take some time to process through your offices. Our hotels are starting to fill, so do be sure to book your hotels if you can. If you have any questions or encounter any issues with that, please let me or Andy know about that so that we can see if there's any space to increase our hotel bookings at the annual meeting. So if you have any questions about that, just let us know. We're excited to see everybody.
All right. Thank you, Joy. That brings us to the end of today's business. Do I have a motion to adjourn the 2026 annual business meeting?
So moved, John, Missouri.
Thank you, John. Do I have a second?
Second, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. Is there any objection to adjournment? Seeing none. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the week.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a couple things as you're getting
Oh,
ready to
sorry.
leave.
Sorry. Yes.
You know, it's fine. It's fine. I know we are just at the top of the hour. Some of these things are regular things you see in all of our webinars. We just have a few things coming up over the next month. Our normal Chatting with Colleagues is on August 12th. The Preservica user group is August 17th. We do have a Shop Talk webinar with Apex on August 20th, so please register for that. And the CoSA annual meeting, which we've already talked a little bit about. And the Archivists Who Code, next meeting is September 1st. We also, oh, was somebody about to say something? Okay. We also have all these ways that you can get involved, which you've heard about for the last hour. The advocacy committee is probably the committee that's looking the most for people to join them. So please reach out if you're interested in that. You don't have to have a lot of advocacy experience. Just a great way to get involved and to learn more about advocacy. All of our working groups are accepting new members, so you can check out our website for all the different groups and learn which ones you might be most interested in. And the affinity groups also have been mentioned a few times. We have some that are just getting started with some meetings. So join those as well if you are interested. And I think we've already had the reminder now for the annual meeting registration, but I will add that keep thinking, start thinking if you aren't already about silent auction items. Hopefully we can get some great items this year again. We always have amazing items to bid on, and it's a really good fundraiser for CoSA. So even if you can't attend, you can ship something to the South Carolina State Archives if there's something you'd like to donate. And as always, you can stay connected in all these different ways. I think that's it now.
All right.
If there's
Thank you,
any
Becky.
follow-up or any questions, go ahead.